Welcome back to today's episode of the podcast and Reclaim Your Year Live. I assume by now, if you're listening to this, you're already signed up for the fully immersive experience. But if you're listening and you're not, please do go to faithandbusinessplayground.com/reclaim because it'll help you get the very best from this whole week-long experience. So let's move straight on to today. And I'm going to assume that you did yesterday's exercise already. If you haven't, don't worry about it. You do need to do it. I would encourage you to do it. I mean, it's up to you ultimately, but I would encourage you to do it. And I'd encourage you to do it before you crack on with the next piece from today. But if you haven't done it yet, that's fine. Listen to today's episode and then go back. But if you haven't done it and you're getting stuck and you're like feeling resistance to it, do please come on over to the Faith and Business Playground group on Facebook and let's dig into why you're feeling that resistance. And I can help you sort of puzzle that piece out as well. But for today, let's assume you've done yesterday's perfect ordinary day exercise. And today we are going to get smartest. Now, you've probably heard of SMART goals. These are SMART goals with a little bit extra. Plus, we're going to tweak things a little bit. Now, I didn't have to release. I chose to do a major addition update for my little goal setting book, Happily Ever After, because I was challenged. SMART goals usually are specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and time-bound. But I was challenged on this idea of realistic goals because humanly speaking, yes, you want to be setting goals. And don't worry, I'm going to get to the EST part of it in a minute, the extra bit. But I just want to just chat about this piece first. Humanly speaking, when we set goals, we want to make sure that they feel manageable. They want to stretch us, but they also want to feel doable, because if they're too ridiculous, if they're too out there, if they're too unachievable, human wisdom says we'll just shut down and won't get them done. However, as people of faith, we are working alongside a God who deals in the impossible. He can do things completely outside the remit of our imagination. And so I released as recently as I think about 2 weeks ago, an update on this particular section of the book. And I've changed realistic to ridiculous. And I want us to set ridiculous goals. Now, I've got a very clear example of this from my own business. Human wisdom tells you that when you're setting up in maybe a new audience or offering a new service or getting started again in some way, the logical wisdom is that you, in order to get profitable quickest, because it takes as much effort and as much touch points and as much interaction to sell a £50 product as it does a £500 product, as it does a £5,000 product, human wisdom says it makes a lot more sense to go after those high ticket opportunities first. Get yourself a few of those high ticket opportunities that maybe retainer clients or whatever. You'll get profitable quicker. And then if you want to serve at a lower price point, you've got the space to do that. However, I felt very clearly, again, around the same time as I was challenged on these ridiculous versus realistic goals, I felt very clearly God saying to me, for me personally, for my business, no. I want you to do it a way that's completely ridiculous, humanly speaking. And I have had one-on-one clients, but I now don't offer one-on-one coaching at all. Instead, all of the work that I do is within my membership, my coaching community, the League of Brilliance, which is priced at £49 a month. It's a ridiculously affordable way to work. We're still very small because I'm growing it, because I've had various versions of this off and on over the years and always gone, no, and gone back to one-on-one. And I felt very clearly God saying, no, the League of Brilliance is what I have for you. And so it's completely ridiculous. It makes no sense at all logically. But it was a very clear directive from God. And I'm not an idiot enough to go, no, God, I'm going to try and do it my way instead. And so this is what we're thinking about when we're setting these goals, is we do want to let go of our human expectations and allow God to move and set ridiculous goals with us. So we're going to, as we go through these, and your email for today that I will have sent to you already will actually have more written specifics about this. So I'm not going to repeat everything that is said in that email because that would be really tedious. I just want to touch on a few points because, like for example, the realistic piece, and give you that concrete example, realistic versus ridiculous. But you do want to make sure after you've done yesterday's homework, so you've got your perfect ordinary day exercise, and you then want to be thinking about, okay, That's the big picture. And now we want to narrow it down and think about the next 90 days. And so the rest of the work that we're going to be doing this week is thinking about the next quarter. And everything that you know from the big picture, based on what you wrote down yesterday and where you'd like to be headed, you're going to be creating 3 to 5 smartest goals based on the big picture stuff. And you're going to do this with God, of course. This is the reminder. Our tie-in verse for this one is Jeremiah 29:11. I used this one last week as well, but it's one of my favorites. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. Like I reminded you yesterday, God knows. You don't have to do this on your own. So you're going to think of this as a collaborative experience. And if you've never done goal setting with God before, this might feel a bit difficult or a bit different and a bit challenging. And that's why I'm really glad that we're doing this live together and I can support you via the free Facebook group, because you know, talk to God about it. And then when you get resistance, I'm here to support you as well. But based on that picture yesterday of where you'd like to be headed overall, what that looked like, I want you to be setting goals. What am I going to do in the next 90 days that moves me in the direction of my perfect ordinary day? And that's what we're looking for. And we know specific goals, if you're specific, it makes it easier for your brain to filter in examples to help you get that stuff done. Like I said, I'm going to dig into this more in that email, which is why if you haven't signed up for it, faithandbusinessplayground.com/reclaim. That's why I've been banging on about it, because I can't cover everything within just a 10-minute episode. Specific, measurable, actionable, ridiculous. Okay, I want you to dream what ridiculous what ridiculous goals can I move forward with God over the next 90 days? Time bound. Give them a time limit so you know when you want to achieve it by. And this is the extra piece. Exciting. I want you to be excited about what you're going to be working on in the next 90 days. We want to ditch the shoulds, ditch the expectations of other people. Exciting. Seasonable. Now I'm going to put a link in the email to the episode where we talked about this last week. But seasonable means the goals that you set today, where you are in your point of life today, are different to the goals that you might have set 5 years ago. I gave the example in last week's podcast episode of myself with the children. My children are all older now. Well, they're not grown-ups yet. They're teenagers, or one's almost a teenager. And so the goals I'm setting now are very different to the goals I was setting when I had 3 children at home most of the time. And they'll be different to the goals that I set in 10 years' time when they've all left home. That's what I mean by seasonable. And so you're letting go of the pressure and of having to do things because everybody else is doing them. You want to make sure that you're setting goals that are true for where you are right now. And finally, the T in that is targeted. And what that means is keeping an eye towards your perfect ordinary day. So the example I give in my book is, some of you listening will know I also write a bit of fiction. I haven't written any fiction this year at all yet. It's not been one of my goals. But I have a book called Stella's Bonjour that I've written a quarter of. And I started it, and I think if you have an old version of one of my other novels, you'll actually have the opening chapters. You can read it. But it keeps niggling at me to get it done, but it doesn't right now fit with the bigger vision of where I'm headed. So for now, at least, Stella's Bonjour stays on the shelf. That's not to say I won't ever get to it, but right now writing Stella's Bonjour does not lead me in the direction forward as I see it today. So your goals want to be targeted. They also want to be transformational as well. Think about how your goals are going to impact the wider world, impact the people that you work with. So I'm going to give you 2 there, targeted and transformational, because we are people of faith. You are where you are right now for such a time as this. God knows what direction you're headed in. He knows what the next 90 days and then the next 6 months, the next year is going to look like for you. And he has a plan and a purpose for you, as we are reminded in Jeremiah 29:11. So give it a go. If you feel like, I would love it if you want to share your goals in the Facebook group, please do. And if you get stuck, don't stay stuck with this on your own. I'm here to support you. And the link for the Facebook group, I'll put it in the show notes. It'll also be in your email as well. I'm going to be back tomorrow with the very next bit, which is quite fun. Tomorrow's one is a bit easier for you, I promise. So stick with it. Even if you found today challenging and yesterday, do the work. I promise it gets easier. You've done the hardest bit after today. Promise. Anyway, I'll be back tomorrow. I look forward to catching up with you then. Take care. Bye-bye.